Hello everyone. Today's video is about why 2022 is a golden year to start a fashion brand. And this episode is going to be mind-blowing because we have a special guest who's going to explain why 2022 has all those factors that are going to help any wannabe fashion designer to create a big, everlasting fashion brand. A couple of days back, I attended a fashion conference where I heard a very big fashion designer actually declaring that 2022 is a golden year for anybody to start a fashion brand. Now, there are a couple of things that I learned from what he said, where he said that from 2020, these couple of years after COVID were brutal for big brands of the world. They have gone through major losses in their business, and most of them are either doing very bad or they are shut down. So, what COVID did was it actually prepared and cleared out a space for new designers to come in. There was a lot of insight in what this designer was saying, and he was also presenting a lot of data, how big companies of the world, how they are facing this major calamity of just survival because they're so big, their supply chains are so big, and how they're not able to, fulfill their financial needs. And also, one very important point that he said was that post COVID, when the consumer came out, actually they became really lot more edgier than they were before. And because all these big brands, they do a lot of production of pieces, so they have to compromise on styling of the garment. And most of the brands end up doing basic stuff where the new consumer is actually asking for edgier stuff. So I really took on to those points, and I thought that I had to do more research to create a more meaningful video for all my viewers. And that is when I got this golden opportunity to interview one of the most enterprising designer that I know, who has her own label, has worked with fashion designers, and who is also sharing her knowledge with fashion students. And while interviewing her, I got present to the fact that there were so many promising elements that are there in 2022, so that the new designers, if they are aware about that, I think they can really juice all those elements out to create a great fashion brand for themselves. So now I'm going to welcome Noreen, where she's going to share all her observation on why 2022 is the greatest period to start your fashion brand. So Noreen, tell me why 2022 is like a great year to start your fashion brand.
Okay, I think first of all, because everything's going online from offline, so that's one of the very good reasons why. And another thing is, a lot of businesses are now moving to work from home, so people have more leverage of time to kind of scroll through social media or online. So they're kind of getting too comfortable, in their home space, which is also slash the workspace now. So they would probably prefer more to shop online, to buy things online without even having the headache of going outside and you're just behind the phone, scrolling through. You have so many options available online, so I think it's definitely a good time to start during this time.
So that is from perspective of marketing to the consumer. A consumer can easily browse through your catalog on social media and they can buy. What are the other things apart from this marketing perspective? Are there other things in 2022 that has happened that would help a fashion designer who wants to start their own fashion label?
In terms, I think online is the biggest shift that we saw in the past 2 years after the pandemic, post-pandemic. That's one of the biggest shift, and that's one of the biggest reasons why fashion brands are coming up, smaller brands are coming up. We're being more self-sufficient now. So like trade from China stopped. So that also kind of hampered a lot of people who were outsourcing the materials and all of that from we were depending actually for materials and fabrics from China, Hong Kong, Korea and all. However, now we're shifting towards producing our own fabric, kind of making your own stitching, setting up your own small businesses. So that is something that is a shift we've seen for the past 2 years, which has happened. And obviously thanks to the online, that's a medium to kind of promote, it's a platform to promote your brand online. So it has kind of helped both ways, it has helped.
Okay, and from that online retail perspective, like one is somebody checking your stuff on social media,
Yeah.
but second is somebody actually buying your stuff. What kind of shift you're seeing in the online retail?
Right. So I think over a period of time, we do have a lot of helpful tools and even helpful apps and something like Shopify, how we're all aware of. They kind of give you a ready-made space to make like a website and sell your garments. You just have to pay like a minimum fees that is required. So however, before all of these websites and all of these helpful tools came into being, it was very difficult to even have like a running website, and it used to cost a lot because every day you're updating, every day you're kind of adding products and updating like on a daily basis. So it was very difficult and very it wasn't so cost effective. However, now it's much easier with tools like this. First of all, whenever you're having a website, so there are a few things which as a retailer also you have to consider, and as a consumer also you look at, like ease of the transaction. It should be safe. So even payment gateways like Google Pay and Paytm and Phone Pay for that matter, they've been really helpful because it's, first of all, it's government approved. Anything that has kind of a seal on it, it definitely makes it easier. So these things definitely helped. Also, I feel how returns and courier services, that is something which is so helpful. And I still remember when I used to order long time back, probably I used to always order online. I was always an online person. I used to order ASOS. So ASOS used to come from UK, London, and it used to take me almost a month to deliver, and along with that I had to pay the custom charges. However, now if I'm retailing in India, I don't have to pay the custom charges, and mine besides that cash on delivery is acceptable, and there was no return that time. Returns, I only had to pay the courier charges. However, in today's time it's almost free. So services like delivery is for Delhi based, so they deliver within 2-3 days. So there's a lot of ease. So the whole chain that was earlier like wholesaler, retailer, manufacturer, wholesaler, retailer, and then the shops, and then reaching to the customer, that has been reduced to just the website, ordering, the courier service, and to the customer straight. So of course this chain has reduced, which is helping with the costing margins as well. So
Okay.
all of this is important.
So Noreen, as you yourself as a fashion designer, so what do you think that when somebody's trying to launch a fashion brand, what are the preparations that designers should do when they are entering into entrepreneurship? So what are those preparations?
See, there are a few things that you need to consider. Right now, I might refer to the online, let's say, the online business. If you have to start online, first of all, what social media platform you will use? I think Instagram in today's time is the most popular platform for the Gen Z and the Gen X. However, if you have a product which is catering to probably a senior citizen, then you might want to choose Facebook, or you might want to choose WhatsApp, as even that's a social media for that matter. So you have to choose the right kind of social media platform. That's important. And the product. See, the product, everyone's selling a product or a service at this point of time, but the product USP is something that is so important. Because what's happening is in today's time there's a lot of repetition, there's a lot of competition. Like, you probably not will be the first brand launching unless it's something really, really unique. You will have a competition, and that goes without saying. Online and offline, especially online, and that to a bigger competition. If you have a smaller investment, you'll have a bigger competition. So I think your product is very important, choosing the right product. Then of course, how to reach to that target audience. See, one is reaching, the other is making them aware. For anyone who's starting a brand, I think making people aware that you're there, you've launched a brand, is the most important. Because marketing, I feel, of course, if people are aware, then they've heard of you. Okay, so then they know that if they have to buy something, if you're selling a good product, which is your USP, strong USP, a good product, they'll come to you. But making them aware, I feel, is one of the biggest challenge which anyone has to overcome when they're starting a online business. And pricing has to be really competitive, because on, again, coming back to the same thing, offline and online, the prices are a major there's a major difference between the two. Offline, like I said, there's a huge supply chain, so the costings are definitely more because it's a physical store. However, when it comes to online, you don't have a physical store, so the credibility is what? It's you, your followers, your engagement, and the product you're selling. So it's all on your social media page. All the credibility lies on your product and on your page, for that matter. That's the store that they're entering when they're scrolling through your social media handle. So I think these 4 things for me are the most important, which you need to crack. If you're done with all these 4 things, I think then smaller challenges come up which you can definitely overcome.
So, in your experience with fashion world, what do you think are the very strong factors that actually constitutes a strong foundation of any brand? Because it's easier to start a clothing line, but
Yeah.
to convert it into a brand and a brand which is there for a very long time, I
Yeah.
think there would be some factors. So, what do you think would be those factors that you have observed?
See, there are intangible factors which I think sometimes people don't really talk about. There's a lot of dedication and perseverance during the first few years that you should have that dedication that you want to sustain. So any brand that's sustaining for a longer period, like you said, they have been pretty consistent throughout. The discipline has been there, so which is why I feel they've sustained for that long.
So that you are talking with respect to the founder's aptitude.
Yes. I think because a lot of good brands are there, a lot of good products are there. However, they haven't sold in the first few years, so they've stopped their brand. They haven't had the motivation. There's lack of some of these qualities that probably. Or maybe understanding of the wrong TG, right TG, and all of that. There's a mix of everything why people don't succeed or why they leave in between, right? Could be other factors, external factors, which I'm not going to refer to at this point of time. First of all, you need to have a good team. You're a fashion designer. You can't just make sketches on the table. You need to put it on it needs to be actually a sample, a 3D sample which you can feel, touch. So I think it's a whole team which you have to set up, which you have to kind of develop over time, or maybe initially whenever you're doing the Reiki and the R&D for that. So I think that is really important. So by the team, I mean you need to have a good master, you need to have a good karigar, the stitching karigar, you need to have a good sourcing, like where vendors who are giving you fabrics at good prices, for that matter, competitive prices, and good quality also. So basically good vendors, good master, these are the 2 external team requirements that you will have. And when it comes to you, like if it's my brand, for that matter, I would, like I said, the intangible qualities I would need to have the dedication, to have the patience, to design well, to have my USP kind of categorized, like this is what I'm going to do. And also when you're entering online, the good thing is you can test waters, which we couldn't do earlier. You just had to open up a store and then put up the clothes. There's limited shelf life for each product. Here it's not that. Even if you're putting up a product, it'll have unlimited shelf life because it's uploaded, it's gone on the World Wide Web, it's there available. So shelf life is definitely increased. However, it wasn't the case earlier in a physical store. So I feel here, initially also, when like the question is more related to how a person navigates through the initial stages, right? So initially I think you can definitely do the R&D, put up a product, and then see, if it's doing well, if it's getting the engagement. There are a lot of brands which I've seen who have just made like just one reel, just put up one product, and they've gotten like 1 million views on it. So that definitely means there's a requirement for this product at this price, at this fit, at this quality, or it's fitting all the brackets. It's check, check, check. So she immediately, that person knows ki, okay, this is what I'm going to be making. However, some people take time to figure out, okay, this is probably not working, I'll try this. So it's not that you're not investing much. With a smaller sampling cost, you can just put up the sample and see if it works for you, instead of creating a whole range and putting it up. Okay, so when it comes to like a strong foundation, I think what's really important is also doing a good study on who your TG is, who your target group is, target customer is. Because how it was earlier, I think nowadays it has changed a lot. Nowadays people are becoming wealthier at a younger age. They're becoming more independent, for that matter. So earlier we used to have a TG above 35, above, because those are the ladies who used to have like the money from their husband's surplus income or whatever. However, this is not the case right now. So you need to identify the TG. I think that's very important. And identifying a TG, like I said, like online, it's a very organic process. However, when it was like a physical store earlier, that these kind of people live around that area. This is the age group of people. These are the age group of people that visit that vicinity. So there, that footfall you're going to have. However, online, it's a diverse TG. It's starting from, let's say, a child who's 18 years old to a women, or maybe even your grandparents for that matter. They would be using social media. So it's a very diverse group, and you need to identify where you want to sell. However, the good part is that the algorithms work in such a way that if the TG that you've kind of categorized, and if you have one follower who's probably buying, one customer who's buying your products, then probably they'll have people of similar profiles. Probably they are able to see your or view your profile through sponsored channels, or organically also. So the algorithm, I think, kind of helps in that way. They already have that figured out, but it's not as, easy as it sounds. I have to put it, it's not as easy as it sounds. So you have paid channels, you have organic ways, both ways to kind of identify, both ways to market the product. But when it comes to identifying the TG, I think that's the R&D which everyone has to do, or go through, for that matter. Also, another thing I think that's very, very important is, which we kind of don't include in our whole business plan, is marketing. Like so there was this very interesting case study of Gucci that I was going through. How they actually plan, how they, after Alessandro Michele joined, how it was a case study done by one of the students only from, I think, LCF, one of the top colleges. So she mentioned that they have a very different strategy of marketing. So they have the IDA funnel. IDA is like awareness, interest, desire, and action. So that is what IDA meant. It was like a kind of like a pyramid that was there. So awareness means, first of all, like I mentioned before, awareness, knowing that there's a brand called Gucci is so important. And then you second was interest. So when you know, when you're aware of something, you kind of develop an interest of knowing. There's a curiosity as a human, as a social animal, there's a certain curiosity. Okay, what is this that everyone's wearing? So the second step to that is the interest that you create, the interest you spark with your product. And the third was Ida, desire. So desire you'll obviously create when you probably target the top A-list influencers. You give them the garments, they wear the garments online, I'm talking about. They wear the garments. And also the Bollywood, Hollywood celebrities, whoever we're following, the kind of top level designers or the people you look up to, they are wearing that kind of garment. So there's a desire that's created. It's like the trickle down effect, how it works. And the last is action. So action is kind of again a very holistic term. Action means when you're buying the product. So when all these three terms are kind of fulfilled, so the all these steps are fulfilled, then the last step is to take the action and kind of buy that product. So that is what their strategy was, to kind of, you know, sell or to market themselves, for that matter. So like any, if you're having a new company, I would suggest have your own marketing strategy. Don't go for the 4 Ps. Whatever you studied in college is great, I think that's absolutely great, but you need to customize it. Like you customize the product, you need to customize your marketing strategies also. The budgeting you need to have, the people you need to target. If you're planning to give it to an influencer, who is the nano influencer, micro influencer, who are you targeting? So all of these things need to be chalked down. They need to be a part of your calendar of the plan. So I think that's more or less about it.
Okay, so yeah, so the question is, being in India, now this question is actually framed for Indian designers, that how is it different from starting a brand in USA or Europe, because outsourcing is very difficult there.
Right.
Fabrics are expensive, labor is exorbitantly expensive. So as an Indian fashion entrepreneur, what are the benefits here? Like what are the things that can be outsourced, or you know, if you can give that like a 360-degree map of when you're starting, what are the things that are very easy in India?
Oh, first of all, I think being in India, we're kind of sitting in the center of all the resources, luckily enough for us. To begin with, we can hire people who outside India are known as seamstresses. We have, or we have tailors in the local language that we have. So we have tailors. We can definitely outsource stitching and manufacturing, for that matter, because its labor is cheap in India. Why is labor cheap? Because the population is huge. So majority chunk of people are in this line of stitching. So I think that is one of the very strong resource which we have, and that can help us with the costing also, because they're trained with machines, they're trained with hand stitching and machine and hand embroidery. So I think the prices are really competitive, so that ways it helps us with the pricing also. And what else can we outsource is definitely stitching and sourcing materials, for that matter. Like we don't have to develop our own fabrics. Like there are so many couture houses outside of India, like Europe you mentioned, they develop their own fabrics from various countries, or maybe in-house. So we have the leverage of having a variety of fabrics available, because there's so many manufacturers sitting in Surat for cotton or polyester or blends, viscose, any latest kind of fabric. And that is of course very
handlooms too.
And handlooms too, because we're so rich in crafts, we're so rich with you know, the history is so rich with the handlooms. So we have like a balance of both, I feel, you know. So I think that is another thing that's very easily available for us. The fabric, the stitching is very easily available, also the rentals, for that matter. You know, if you see the Dior the Atelier Dior, that's placed in one of the main areas, but and the rent costs are really high there. So they have a 4-story building or a 5-story building. However, here you can have a workshop as well as a studio in the same place. Maybe I'm talking about Delhi specifically, under 30K for per month, like rentals. So I think that's pretty easier. That will definitely help. So there's fabric, there's stitching, there's fabric stitching, outsourcing, even raw materials for that matter, like you have the trims and everything. So also for that matter, the small details required to construct and make a garment, something like a label, something like a tag, something like the packaging, everything is so easily available because we're pretty self-sufficient with all the industries, including the packaging, and the prices are really competitive, like I said, because the manpower is very easily available. So I think the most important thing to know is that India was sitting in a manufacturing hub, and India in itself, like I said, is so self-sufficient that every step of the supply chain you will be it'll be very easy for you to kind of source anything or outsource anything from your surroundings only. You don't need to travel 100, 300, 400 kilometers to probably buy the fabric. No, you'll have a vendor here who's giving very competitive price, who'll give you the same fabric, same quality, and you'll have a tailor here who's stitching with the same finishing and giving you a good fit, and you'll have the same raw materials like tags and labels and packaging, the same plastic thickness, GSM, whatever it is. So everything is available around the vicinity. You don't need to travel so much to kind of gather the resources. So that's really helpful.
Thank you so much, Noreen, for covering so many important points that actually resonates why 2022 is a golden year for all those fashionistas who wanted to have their own label. And by this, I'm also going to invite all the viewers who are interested in starting their own fashion labels to come to my website, which is www.gauravmandaldesign.com, where you can learn about fashion design through online courses, and you can also buy fashion books at great discounts. So I'll be seeing you in my next video, which is about what are the methods by which you will actually start a fashion brand.